That's the only confounding thing about Hinderers. So this is the Hinderer Eklipse Tanto. It's not quite the Harpoon, it's their new version of the Tanto where they have this upswept portion here. I still think it looks cool, but I think the Harpoon Tanto looks a little bit better. In typical Hinderer fashion, all the hardware is going to be hex, it's not going to be Torx. And we do have the stock G10 scale on the front with a titanium liner and a titanium frame lock on the other side. You do have the option for tip up or tip down carry, a lock bar stabilizer hidden underneath this pocket clip, stainless steel insert so that there's not titanium writing on steel, creating that galling effect. Some really cool barrel spacers that most Hinderers do have these, but they're all pretty specific to each model. A little bit of shouldering on the spine that wraps around this stop pin in the back. Some thumb studs that aren't actually thumb studs, they act as external stops. So not only do you have the stop pin creating that solid lockup, you have these external stops keeping it from going back and forth. The Hinderer Eklipse of all Hinderer models definitely feels like it has some of the best ergonomics in hand. It's probably the most neutral, and it's one of the few knives that a Tanto I feel like really works because the way your hand placement is, you actually have a natural stabbing style motion with this knife. Whereas if you have a slightly more curved handle, similar to the XM18, it's going to actually push the point of the knife a little bit further down. This doesn't. This kind of keeps it in line with your natural body of motion. This knife, as expected, is made completely in the USA out of 20 CV blade steel. This is the tri-way system, so it does have these ball bearings in there that make this some of the best action that I've ever felt. Rick Hinderer definitely did something special when he made the tri-way system. Not only did he make a good system where you could swap out Teflon, phosphor bronze, or ball bearings, he made it to where the tolerances are still so amazing that the action is almost second to none, yet having no back and forth, no up and down. Hinderers became a fidget toy after they got the tri-way. It's crazy. These are definitely hard-use knives, as in hand these aren't going anywhere. You're definitely locked in, and they're built like an absolute brick house. One thing that the Eklipse does very, very well that the other Hinderers don't, hence me doing flipper deletes, is the flipper tab. It's non-obtrusive on this side, and on this side, it's the same. It actually creates for a nice experience rather than this cumbersome, I'm gonna close your hand into this place like it does on the XMs. The Jurassic had a similar flipper to the XMs. The Eklipse is one of the few ones that gets it right. Here it is next to both sizes of XM18. As you can see, very similar to the Hinderer XM18 3.5 inch, yet it is just a little bit overall longer than the XM18 3.5. Here it is next to your Gale Bradley 2 and your Spyderco Techno 2. And here it is next to your CRK Umnuzan. Now the Umnuzan and the Hinderer Eklipse seem like cousins. To me, if you like the Umnuzan, you might like the Eklipse. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of similarities between these two. All in all, the Umnuzan kind of feels like the CRK version of the Hinderer Eklipse. The ergonomics in the Eklipse are much better though, despite me absolutely loving this knife. All in all, for 425 bucks, what are you getting? You're getting CPM 20 CV blade steel, full USA construction, some overbuilt beefy style of a knife. You got these overbuilt standoffs, you got both the external stop and the internal stop. You have this lock bar stabilizer, titanium liners, and just a regular G10 show-side scale. That's the only confounding thing about Hinderers, is that you have to pay so much money and you're still getting a G10 scale, and then they take and they charge you $200 to get a titanium scale upgrade, turning this knife into a $625 knife. A knife that is nowhere near similar to Hinderer, but in the same price range, would be the CKF Fife 2.0. Now this has this beautiful carbon fiber inlay, and it has these titanium scales that are just absolutely gorgeous, M390 blade steel, a hand satin finish on the front, and this is coming between $425 and $500. Now I get it, it's not about the materials, right? The Fife isn't made in the USA. That's what you have to value if you're looking at a Hinderer. You like the overbuilt, made in the USA, I'm in your face and I can take care of anything that you put in front of me. That's what a Hinderer is. So yes, it's kind of expensive for G10 scales, but that's what makes it fun. We understand that it's expensive. We understand that we're going to be paying an extra 50 bucks for hardware, that we're going to be paying an extra 15 bucks for a pivot, that if you're like me, you don't really like the pocket clip, and so you change it out. almost turning this knife if I did everything I wanted to it, after assuming that you can get a titanium scale and the colored hardware you want. You're probably looking at $750. There's a lot of pride of ownership in this knife. Is any knife worth $750? That's more of an internal argument than it is external. We can tell you whether or not we think it is, but that's something you have to ask yourself. Am I willing to pay that money for a knife, and is it going to make me as happy as $750 can? For me, it can. It definitely can. Not every $750 knife does it, but this one does. There's more expensive knives than even the Hinderer Eklipse out there that sometimes you ask yourself, why does it cost so much? But then my next question is, why does it make me so happy? I didn't mean to go too deep with this discussion. I think the Hinderer Eklipse is absolutely amazing. And if you guys like the Hinderer Eklipse, but you're not quite sure which Hinderer to really hunt for, check out this video. I give my thoughts on what I think is the best model Hinderer for your very first Hinderer. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking rest of your day, guys. Thank you so much for watching.